The
right
Game of
here,
Networking.
The Game of Networking by Rob Sperry. I was looking for the books I could share and show. This is an amazing book about all of the different characteristics of a successful network marketer. This week, we're talking about the second law of the Game of Networking, and it is the law of credibility. So I'm super excited to have Dondi come in and take over with this training to be able to share with you these characteristics that can be learned if you don't feel like you have them, and you can become the professional network marketer and have the success that you want. But it truly is focusing on the game of networking.
It is. And it is a game, and it's a winnable game by anybody who chooses to play. And I say that very deliberately because it's a fact. Network marketing is the most level playing field of business success out there. Meaning, for example, I mean, if you wanted to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a pilot or something like that, you must go to school beyond high school. There is going to be some higher academics. It's just part of the game. But if you want to make money the way doctors and attorneys and pilots and engineers and people, professional types, even more money than them, you don't have to go to college, but you just have to find the right vehicle. As Eric Worre says, one of the pioneers of network marketing, entrepreneurship and mentorship and coaching, probably the most successful one and the most reputable one out there now, what he says is network marketing isn't perfect. It's just better than everything else. And that's what I love about this. And I love Rob Sperry's book, The Game of Networking, because it literally shows the average person how they can be wildly successful in a profession that is, in my opinion, and how we feel about it, one of the most noble professions in the world, because you can take people that want to be successful or want to be a mentor or want to have a voice. They want to talk on stages, or they want to write books. They want to influence people in a positive way. Very, very few people achieve those things in a typical profession. But in network marketing, if you want it, go for it. And I would just say this. So next week, as Marcy said, we're all going to be in, well, hopefully everyone who shows up in San Antonio is going to get something they don't normally get on Zooms like this. And that is, you get to look at people. You get to look at the people who walk across stage, winning awards, rank advancing, hitting top ranks, and you get to see them. What kind of a person are they? How do they dress? How are they interacting with people? What kind of a social demographic do they come from? And you will see all walks of life at every single level of rank of our company. That's what I love about this. And I mean, for example, in San Antonio, you are going to see some Amish people. And for people that were raised in the city, I had never seen Amish people literally until I saw something on TV or I met some people at a LifeVantage event. But these people live very simple lives by choice. They don't have electricity oftentimes. They don't have Xboxes and Game Boys and cell phones and trucks and cars. They literally go by horse and buggy. They have dinner by candlelight. They don't utilize electricity and modern conveniences. And there are some very highly ranking executive leaders in LifeVantage that are part of the Amish community. And for anybody who looks at it and goes, I just can't do this, I would love when they see Amish people at our events, because they'll look and go, well, if that person who doesn't even have a cell phone, doesn't own a car, doesn't have a TV, doesn't listen to the radio, doesn't have creature comforts of a modern world, and they can make $20,000 a month when they look at the kind of income we can make, and they can go, okay, well, if they can do it, I can do it. That's what I love about network marketing. And it all comes down to the credibility. We're going to talk about these things. So you see the words on the screen: reliable, integrity, reputation, trust, authentic, commitment. These all are byproducts of credibility. And to have the most influence is those people who have the most credibility. And it's not as deep as you think. And it can come from literally anywhere. And I want to give you guys who may be thinking, wow, I don't know if I can do this. I want to give you the permission and yes, you can, and give you the green light to go do it. So the law of credibility starts with creating your greatness. Well, let's just This is a quote from Rumi that I love. You were born with potential. You were born with goodness and trust. You were born with ideals and dreams. You were born with greatness. You were born with wings. You were not meant for crawling, so don't. You have wings. You learn to use them and fly. I think this is so powerful because, like I said, this is the most level playing field of any business opportunity with massive income potentials than I've ever seen. But there is another part of this. Don't waste time. We only have 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, 5 of them being work days, and we only have between 28 and 31 days in a month, and we only have 12 months in a year, and we've got only 10 years in a decade. But the key is, what are you doing with your 24 hours or 7-day week or 30-day month or whatever it is? What are you doing with your time? Because there will be people that are making less than you in the same amount of time, and there will be people that are making 100x what you're making in the same time. It is, what are they doing with their time? So don't waste it, number one. So if you're like most people, you're on the fast track to getting a bachelor's degree in wasting time. I see I have a misspelling there. Should be in. And that's not good, especially if you have a cell phone and you have reels and you have social media and you have the internet. You're wasting lots of time, but you don't have to. You can turn that around. So figure out what your time wasters are and do away with them. And Rob, in his book, he talked about in the first 6 months of getting involved in network marketing, where tennis was his background, he watched zero TV. He did not watch any tennis matches. He didn't even watch the Olympics. It was during an Olympics year, in the Summer Olympics. He didn't see Michael Phelps win any gold medals or any of the team medals that U.S. player or the U.S. Olympic athletes won, because he wasn't watching the Olympics, because he was focusing on building his business. And he realized afterward, now he has the lifestyle that he could spend the rest of his life watching TV if he wanted to, but he won't, because it's a wasted time, because it's not about your time. Are you using your time to achieve your goals? And once you do, then people just look at things differently. Now use your time to help other people reach theirs. Then it becomes selfish to watch a TV show when you have your goals, but you know people that don't have theirs yet. That just becomes a different mental shift. You cannot create greatness without first eliminating your distractions. Just sit down and look at where you spend your time, get rid of the distractions, because you have to give up what you like to earn what you love. I thought that was a great quote.
So good.
So credibility comes from creating greatness. So credibility is when you are looked at as a voice of authority, as an expert, as a leader, whatever that is, it comes from creating greatness. So credibility is very difficult to earn. Let's just be straight up, honest, and transparent. But it greatly amplifies everything you say or do once it is earned. And I'll share with you that you don't have to worry about your credibility in network marketing. You can leverage credibility elsewhere. So don't let your defeats create a poor me attitude. If you want success, you must adopt a conqueror mentality. What does that mean? Whatever it takes to be successful, that's what I'm going to do. That's the conqueror's mentality. You can have setbacks. In fact, you should expect setbacks. In fact, if you are not failing and making mistakes, it means you're not working hard enough, because people are afraid to fail. People are afraid of mistakes. But if you look at them as the faster you make mistakes, the quicker you learn the lesson. The faster you fail forward fast, because when you fail, you learn something that is done the wrong way. Imagine if Thomas Edison would have stopped on the 9,999th time he tried to create the light bulb. What if he would have stopped at 9,999 failures? We wouldn't have a light bulb. It was the 10,000th time that he tried that he was actually successful, because he had a conqueror's mentality and he knew that he could figure it out. He had faith and confidence in himself. He had his own credibility before he actually earned it. And now Thomas Edison is a legend, because he kept persisting with that conqueror's mentality. So when you're sharing your story, and you're sharing it with a prospect, or you're sharing it in front of an audience who's here to hear your presentation, and there's other people's prospects there, ask yourself, what is the other person's perspective? What are they thinking about what you're saying? And it all comes down to your story, which we're going to talk about here shortly. But think about the other person. What could they be thinking, rather than making it your goal to tell them what you're thinking? Because it really is about them and not about you. So tell your story over and over and over and over and over. And when you're done telling it that many times, tell it again another 100,000 times, because people want to follow a leader. It actually gives them confidence. Nobody wants to follow a failure. But how many times do we hear people that are failures that actually deter us from doing something? I can't tell you how many times in a network marketing specific event or atmosphere, we've said something and someone, or we've shared something and someone's response, well, I don't believe in network marketing because my broke uncle tried it 5 times back in 1976 and he was never successful. And if you listen to what people say, they will tell you why it didn't work, because usually the people that they are giving their credibility to you, when you are trying to share your own credibility, it's based in negativity. People that have not achieved something make really good critics, but they don't make very good examples of people who've done it. When you've done it, you have the credibility. I listen to people who are successful. I don't listen to people who are not successful or people who are negative, because if you've never done it, you don't have the right to say anything about it. If you quit, if you didn't quit and you're still attempting it, we're going to talk about how you can do that too. So here's the thing when it comes to credibility and telling your story. When people think, well, what if I've never had success? What if I'm brand new and this is the first time I've ever been involved in network marketing? I was there. I meet people like that every day who are there. They've not had their own success. The cool thing about credibility, you can borrow it. You can borrow it from leaders on your team, leaders in the company. They don't even have to be leaders that you've ever met. I'm sure there's so many people out there who use the credibility of Shauna Michelle Poe or Tara Wilson or Mark Shinsato or Tyler Daniels or Rachel Pekarik or all the other leaders of this company. They're using their credibility because they don't yet have theirs. That's a perfectly acceptable method of operation in network marketing. Borrow someone else's credibility. Well, what if you have your own success somewhere else? I talk about my success as a chiropractor and as a radio show host. It has nothing to do with network marketing. It has something to do with health and wellness, so our products are actually a good overlap. But I talk about my credibility elsewhere because people I might be knowing have never known me in any other capacity, or they know me in that and didn't know what my background was. So bring as much credibility into your story as possible. And if you've been successful somewhere else, bring that in as part of your story and ride on that credibility and leverage the success of your mentors, of the people in your organization, of other people that are part of this organization. Heck, you could even use somebody from a different company if you know who they are. Last week, we talked about Jessie Lee Ward. Met her one time, but she was a living legend in this industry. We use her story all the time because of how gritty she was. And talk about the conqueror's mentality. She wouldn't let anybody talk her out of it. I love what she said. She goes, I have the biggest belief. No matter how strong your disbelief is, you will never take mine. That's a conqueror's mentality. Well, think about this. If you've never had success in anything else, and you literally don't even know your upline, or you're brand new, you don't know anybody in this organization or any network marketers, that's okay. Share with people what your goals are, because people just want to hear from someone who's enthusiastic, who's excited, and who actually has good intentions and goals. Again, remember what the first sentence here is. People want to follow a leader. It gives them confidence. You can be very confident and never had a day of success in this company. You could be very confident and not have anybody on your team who you can use as leverage. And you can be very confident by talking about what you are going to do based on what you've seen, and people will lean in and be influenced by it. So tell your story, but rely on the credibility of others and previous success if you don't yet have it here, or share with people your goals. So don't tell people what you do for a living. Tell them about the problems you solve. And the two biggest problems I will tell you in the world right now, as far as people are concerned, are health and finances. Health and finances, and I think they always will be. So every year when people make their list of New Year's resolutions, health and finances is usually number 1 and number 2. So focus on that. And then you ask, well, what if they ask how much money I'm making? Awesome. You can tell them if you want, but if you're new in this and you haven't made any money, this is a truism. And if you know what they say about business, it's the typical business. Well, 90% to 95% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years. And of those same 90 to 95%, it takes 3 years for them to make a profit, or what we call ROI, return on investment. So whether they borrow a loan, take out a loan, whatever it is to start a business, it typically takes 3 years to become profitable. So if you are new, you can say something like this: business on average takes 3 years to turn a profit. I'm building the foundation for my business by learning the skills. I couldn't be more excited or committed to my business. I'm going to do whatever it takes to achieve my goals. If I heard that from someone who's getting started in something, I would want to know what they're doing and I would want to support them because it comes across in their voice. Do not let the fact that maybe you haven't even hit the first rank yet, you haven't even made a check yet, do not let that take you off the path to establishing your own credibility. Talk about your goals, talk about your excitement, talk about what you're going to do, and literally share this. Businesses take on average 3 years to make a profit. You're working on that by achieving skills and you're excited and you're working with some people that are helping you get there. So what about this? Again, don't tell people what you do for a living. Tell them about your problems that you're solving. What if they ask how much money? We just talked about that.
There twice.
Yeah, okay. So no, that's fine.
Okay.
So this is, again, so if you're new, well, what if you're not new? What if you're somewhere between the day you started and 3 years? You're in that, you're on that journey of credibility of turning a profit. You could say something like this: business is going great. Most businesses don't turn a profit for 3 years. I've already made money. I've learned a ton, and I'm working with some very successful mentors. If you're enthusiastic about that, now here's the thing. If that's true, say it. If it's not true, don't say it. Leave out the part. Now you can even say, it takes 3 years to turn a profit. I've made $350. I've made $500, whatever it is. Say, but I've learned a ton and I'm working with some very successful mentors. Because again, what are they want? Leaders to follow. So if you are following a leader, they can follow you, even if you're talking about something that hasn't yet happened, so long as you're on the road to making it happen. Utilize that.
And one thing I would add in here too is that it's another great place to add in about your goals again, that I've made some really great strides towards my goals, or I've taken some really important steps towards accomplishing my goals, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you've made the money towards your goals, but you've either learned the skills, you've become connected to the right people, you've taken some great steps to accomplishing your goals.
Right. And the other thing about
goals connect people, by the way.
Yes, they do.
Goals connect people.
They do, because it helps them realize. And most people don't make goals, but when you meet someone who's made goals, or they're meeting you and you have goals, they're already leaning in. You're already inspiring them and influencing them, and you don't even know it yet. Because most people, 97% of people who actually have goals, don't write them down. And it's only 3% of people who actually achieve the goals, because they're the ones that write it down. And then if you write it down and tell somebody about it, you're even more likely to actually achieve them. So use that to your advantage. So here, tell your story, but develop 3 different links to your story, because you never know who you're going to meet and you never know how much time you have. So have a 30-second elevator speech. So when you literally run into somebody in the elevator, or you run into somebody, they're checking out at the grocery line and you've only got that last 30 seconds, develop a quick story. And remember what Eric Worre talks about, the 4-part story. So what you did or do, what you don't like about it, what you found here with LifeVantage, and how you feel about the future. You can make 0 money, have 0 leaders and mentors that you're following, and still have that last part, how you feel about the future, be very optimistic and very powerful and very positive. So your 30-second elevator speak, practice that using that 4-step model from Eric Worre. The 2-minute story, this is one where you've got quick interactions. You can go into a little bit more depth. This is something we try to do every single time we do a presentation, when we're especially when we're co-presenting. 2-story for me, 2-minute story for me, 2-minute story for Marcy. And it's pretty all encompassing, hits all the right bullet points, and causes people to, one, understand that we have credibility, and two, they can follow us because we're leaders. That's a very important part of your 2-minute story. Your 5-minute story is a little bit more in depth. You should think about what you tell people to get them interested, what you've done, remember what you do or did, what you didn't like about it, what you see here at LifeVantage, and how you feel about the future. Weave that in the beginning. And then the middle part, think about these 3 questions. Why do you matter? Why should they listen to you? And what are you going to accomplish? Who are you? What's your credibility, and what are you working on? What are you striving for? Because that's really where they're going to hone in on you and listen to that last part, whatever your opportunity is, whatever your offer is, whatever your, would you like to join our team? What do you think about these products? Whatever your focus in, and whatever you're having that discussion, weave that into your 5-minute story. And your 10-minute story is going to be for multifaceted. When you're having questions, going back and forth, it's a long presentation, maybe it's a group presentation, and people are asking you questions, and you're weaving in a little bit more of your story. So have multiple different links for the perfect opportunity to share which one is going to be the best fit. And I will tell you this: practice, practice, practice. When I got involved with LifeVantage a little over almost 15 years ago, I had a little micro cassette recorder, and I would talk to myself and share my story over and over and over and over. Why? Because I needed to get over the fact I hated the sound of my own voice, and most people do. They don't like the sound of their voice. Get over it. Listen to where you have in voice tones, inflections, where you pause for dramatic impact, where you have your voice go up at the end of a sentence like a question, or where it goes down at the end of a sentence to prove a point. Learn tonation on how to use your voice. Learn how to listen to your crowd that you're in front of and what kind of questions they're answering, and weave your story in that. Practice it, practice it, practice it. And then lastly, I'm going to close with this part of it: the law of association. This is so, so, so powerful. The fact is, and I don't know whether it was Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar, whoever was the origin, it might have even been from the Bible, I don't know, but you become the subtotal of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And they don't have to be people that you're in their proximity, that you're actually close enough to touch them. It's, what are you watching on TV? What are you listening to? The 5 people that you hang around with most could be none of them that you would actually call friends, or who would know who you are, because maybe they're your favorite character on a TV show. Remember about getting rid of distractions. Remember about wasting time. So who are you spending the most time with? The people you love and care about, that are influencing you, that are encouraging you, that are supporting you. It's like successful business owners. If you want to be successful in business, hang out with some successful business owners. This is something very, very powerful. And I want to start by saying this: the answer is always no, unless you ask.
Yes.
The answer is always no, unless you ask. And I'm going to share this with you. Why? I'm going to share with you an experience I had when I was going through chiropractic college. I went to 85 different chiropractic offices when I was in my final year of chiropractic college, because I went to, one, introduce myself as an almost graduating intern, and I wanted to meet the doctors and ask if I could have 5 to 10 minutes of their time. Ask them questions. What do you like about practice the most? What do you hate about practice the most? What do you love about having a staff? What do you hate about having a staff? How many patients are you seeing per week? What are the pitfalls that you're having with patients? And I went to 87 offices, 85 of them welcomed me. 2 of the 87 doctors that I went to did not want to talk to me and did not let me in. Why do I tell you that? Because most people who are successful, when they meet people that are in their same line of work who also want to be successful, if they've got the time, they're going to give it to you. Ask, just ask. If you know a successful network marketer in our organization, part of your team in LifeVantage, or somebody in another company, if you're friends on Facebook, send them a message, a messenger message. But be mindful, they may have other kinds of requests from other people. What would set you apart? Do something different. Send them an audio message, send them a video message. And again, the answer is always no, unless you ask. And even when you ask, the answer may be no. If you get a no, ask someone else. Keep asking until you find the people that, one, will give you the time, and I look at it this way, that deserve your time. They will, this is, and this happened to me when I was a chiropractor. People would come to me and ask me questions. I remember being that young, enthusiastic, just idealistic kind of person, wanted to set the world on fire and heal the world. That's why they talked to me. That's why they gave me their time, because I valued theirs. And they gave over abundantly. So you can find people if you don't know them personally, or you can just listen to your books. One that I'm listening to a lot right now is John C. Maxwell, one of the legends of leadership. He's got an amazing, he's got, I don't know, 40 books or something like that. He sold, hundreds of millions of copies of his books. You don't need to know his phone number or his email address. Get his audiobook and just spend some time with him. Put it in your ear. I fall asleep to an audiobook every single night. Do the same thing. Other entrepreneurs, so authors, audiobooks, master classes. You can go see speakers live. They have, sometimes people come and do live presentations, business presentations. Go sit down with them. If you can't get in live or that's sold out, find them on YouTube or podcasts. So many opportunities out there to spend time with people that have credibility, that will give it to you, whether they know you're listening to their audiobook or their podcast, or you're sitting in their audience or not. And the answer is always no, unless you ask. If you know people in your community that are successful business people, ask them if you could take them to lunch. What would it cost you? 15, 20 bucks, 30 bucks, whatever it is, but your time is valuable, and ask good questions and set yourself apart, because people will lean in when they see you leaning in. People want to help other people. It's a natural tendency of humans to want to help other people that are excited and enthusiastic. You be that person and you will find 5 people. And I'm going to share with you an experience, and you probably remember this. Marcy and I were doing a meeting. We were co-presenting at a meeting, and a guy came with a guest. Let me give this as an example of what not to do. So a guy came with a guest, a guy who was on the streets selling individual cigarettes.
Yes, I remember that.
And he thought, if this guy can sell single cigarettes to people, he'll probably be a good network marketer. And there was probably some truth to that. But there's also the 5 people you spend the most time with you are the subtotal. So, and I'm not against gangs. I'm not against tattoos. I'm not against facial tattoos. I'm not against guys selling single cigarettes to people. But if you look at what this guy was doing in his aunt, he goes, I brought this guy because if this guy can sell single cigarettes, he can do this business. One, he didn't have, how much money are you making selling single cigarettes? He probably didn't have the money. And I don't want to write anybody off, because what is the one thing they tell us? Do not ever, ever, ever prejudge anybody, but look at who you want in your business. That is where you can be selective. If you want to grow, and if this is something, if your passion is to turn gang members into productive members of society, keep them out of jail, go for people like that. This guy, that was not his goal. It just happened to be, I think he just needed to bring a guest, and he found this guy on the drive in. I don't know, and the guy, he obviously wasn't interested. He didn't even give his real name, but he was checking out the place that we were doing the house in. I was like, oh my God, I hope the guy doesn't pull out a gun and rob us or steal anything. But the key is, and I don't mean to be facetious, but think about what you want. Remember, it comes down to goals. What do you want in your business? What kind of a person do you want to be? What kind of a credible leader do you want to be? And what kind of credible leader do you want to lead others like? Let that be your quest, because you are the subtotal of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Maybe some of us need to cut some people loose, or just less time spent with them, because it says in Rob Sperry's book, and I don't know where he got the stat from, but for every single person that is negative or who is drawing from you, you need 3 positive people to balance that out. 1 negative is the equivalent of 3 positives. What if you've got 5 negative people in your life? Sounds like you need 15 positives. And again, I don't know where that stat comes from, but it made pretty good sense. So use your time wisely, get rid of distractions. The law of association, or what Tony Robbins calls proximity, is power. You can be in someone's sphere and not have any, and be 5,000 miles from them if you got them in your ears. The people you have in your ears, you also have in your mind. And if they're in your mind, they're in your thoughts. And if they're in your thoughts, they're in your actions. And if they're in your actions, they're changing you however you allow them to. So if they're positive people, they're changing you in a positive way. If they're negative people, they're changing you in a negative way. Value the 6 inches between your ears. Value what goes into your ears. Be your own filter. Establish credibility by bringing people who are credible for good things into your life and watch how it happens. So you want to add any things where we can close this out?
No, all of that. I mean, everything here, if you just go back and re-listen to this call several times and just pick out a couple things that you need to work on. That's what you should do every single time you listen to a training. Don't feel like you have to try to implement every single thing because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And when you're overwhelmed, you do nothing, right? So just pick out one or two things. And maybe it is that you evaluate the people that you're spending your time with and see where you need to spend more time and maybe spend less, because you want to make sure that you are influencing yourself in the right way, right? Because ultimately we want to be influencers of people, right?
Right.
But guess where that has to start? You have to influence yourself first. So this is a really great call, great information for each one of us to really decide where we need to work and where we need to become more credible in building our business.
Absolutely.
And become as people. So good.
So
Great
good.
stuff.
So good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing this second law of the game of networking, the law of credibility. So remember, if you didn't see the first law, you can go back to the YouTube channel, Team Freedom Reigns, and find it there. So thank